Hi, I love chocolate and I really wanted to find out about where that lovely stuff comes from. Luckily, I'm also a time traveller and I thought together with some of my friends we could learn about the journey of chocolate. Shall we go? I've come all the way back in time around 1,500 years. I've come to Central America to meet with the Mayan people and they've been showing me how to make chocolate. So these are cacao pods and inside them, when you break them open, they're full of these little things which are cacao beans. Now when you've fermented them and dried them, then they come out as this. These are called nibs. Well, let me show you how to make chocolate. Okay. So this thing is called a metate and they use it to grind things up to make food with. They use it to grind sweet corn to make tortillas, but they also use it to grind up the cacao beans after they've been fermented and roasted to make a chocolatey pulp. Let me show you. So they go on there like that and then you smash them up like that and grind them up like that, and it makes a chocolatey pulp. Now it's a little bit dry and powdery at the moment, so what they do is they mix it with water and then they use bowls like these to pour it so that it goes frothy, and they mix it with water and all kinds of things, and it tastes really bitter when it's finished. I'm not sure I like it very much, but they seem to love it. Anyway, party's going on and I best get back to the party. Arr! Welcome aboard, ye scurvy dogs. I is not a pirate, though you might think that I is. But no, I has papers from the Queen, and so I is a privateer. Together with my crew we attacks and loots Spanish ships for the gold they brings back from the New World. The other week we was out a-sailing our galleon, and we comes across a Spanish ship. So we attacks it and the battle is won, but when we goes aboard there's nothing below decks but sacks and sacks of what looks like dried sheep droppings. Little hard brown lumps in bags. I means, who would spend all that time and money transporting sheep poo across the ocean? It makes no sense. But if you ask me, they've missed a trick. If they really want sheep droppings, I can get them that from any farm in England. Of course, there was a bit of a different smell on the wind that day when we burned the ship. That didn't smell too much like sheep dung, I'll tell you. Sort of enticingly bitter, but probably a trick of the sea breeze.
Ah, watch here, blood. Pull up a seat. We were about to deal everyone in for a quick round before the food arrives. Don't think I've seen you here before. Let me tell you how this works. First off, blood is how we refer to each other if we're friends. We drink chocolate here, not that nasty coffee stuff you find elsewhere. We come in here, we talk politics and business, share stories and, of course, gamble, playing cards. That's my sort of entertainment. Made a lot of money here over the years. Lost quite a lot too, though. Sometimes it gets a bit rowdy in here and occasionally there's quite the brawl. Fighting, fists and such like, with occasionally swords drawn. I try to steer out of those sorts of affairs though, know what I mean? Anyway, it's not just chocolate you can get here either. Other than the games and the conversation, there's smoking to be had and you can get great food, you can pick up tickets for the opera or the theatre, invitations to the best parties too. Entry, as I'm sure you already know, is a penny, And for that you can read through any of the news sheets on offer as well. For an extra penny, someone will come and read it to you. Of course, no women allowed in here. Oh, goodness me, no. Men only, naturally. So, they use these things, called molinillo sticks, to froth up the chocolate, mixing it in these here chocolate pots. Chocolate's a bit bitter if you don't get the sugar and flavour combinations right, but personally I love the stuff. Oh, is that the time? I'm late for a very important party. Moustache, fare thee well, blood.
Ah, welcome to the Roundtree factory. You must be the new intake of workers. Now, looking around, I see you haven't got your factory uniforms yet, but that's okay. You have got your hats though, so that's good. Now, the company was originally Cayley's of Norwich. I'll just give you a little brief history because we're in the museum bit. So that started out as Cayley's Norwich, and then that became Macintosh Cayley's, and now that's called Roundtree Macintosh. And that's got quite a long history, but we call it Roundtrees for short. So, a couple of rules first. You must keep your hat on at all times in the factory, and that stop hairs getting into the chocolate. And that would be disgusting if you found one of them in your treat, wouldn't it? So please keep your hat on. Also, keep your hands clean and washed. Yeah. Now, you may eat as much chocolate as you wish while you're at work, during your break, and at the end of the day, there are always bags of misshapen chocolates which you can take home for your family. Now let me show you to one of the most important pieces of machinery here, and that's one of our old enrobing machines. Now the chocolate centres, the toffees and whatnot, they come through here on this conveyor, and the chocolate, that rain down on them like a complete curtain of chocolate, and that cover them completely. There's also a river of chocolate underneath the conveyor which coat the bottom of the chocolate. And this wire mesh, that's why you always get that pattern underneath each one of your chocolates when you buy them from the shop. Now as they come off the conveyor, they head down another conveyor where workers stamp a design on the top, so that when you open the box, you can tell immediately what flavour they are, so you can get your favourite and not get the one you don't like. Now this is one of our experimental recipe books. In here are some of the original recipes for things like Caramac and Yorkie and so on. So on this page we've got the Yorkie peanut and the Yorkie raisin and biscuit bars, but then on this page, one you might recognise, this one have the Rolo toffee. That's the toffee what make the centre of each rouleau, but I think that's best kept as a secret. Anyway, well, I've heard that the factory might be being sold to Nestle soon. That's not another name change. I mean, come on. I've only just got used to this one. But seriously, I do hope we get to keep our jobs. Anyway, I hope you enjoy working here, and welcome to the Roundtree family.
So you've met a few of the people who've been connected with chocolate over the years. I wonder what time period you'd want to live in. Would you want to be with the Maya, drink your chocolate bitter with chili and water? Would you want to be around when it was a big secret and most people in Europe had never heard of it and thought it was sheep droppings? Would you like to go to a chocolate house maybe, play games while you sip your chocolate drink? Or would you prefer to work in the factory where the chocolate is made and eat as much as you like while you're at work? I know which I would choose. Right, I'm off to find some chocolate.